up? Welcome to Wine School. I'm Mike. This is Eric. Special guest tonight, Christo. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Tonight's Wine School brought to you by Newport Beach Pad. So if you're looking for a beach rental down in Newport Beach, check them out online, newportbeachpad.com. So with that, tonight we're going to drink a Rivesaltes. Exciting stuff. What the hell is a Rivesaltes, right? And more specifically, we're going to drink a Domaine Singla 1945 Ombre Rivesaltes. And so I think the big question on everybody's mind is, what the fuck is a Rivesaltes, right? So Rivesaltes has a long and storied tradition of wine. They have been making this wine in the same way, in the same place since the 1300s.
Wow.
Yeah. And it, for all intents and purposes, you can think of it as France's version of port. And in France, they call it a vin du naturel. But it's a port-style wine. It's a wine that we know when wine ferments, the yeast eats the sugar, turns it into alcohol. If you add alcohol to the wine, it kills the yeast before all the sugar's gone, and you end up with a wine that's high alcohol and is sweet. Port. And so that process of adding alcohol, called mutage, actually, was invented in this region. And it's in the Languedoc-Roussillon region of France, which is sort of all the way down on the lower southeast corner, just right above Spain, right above Barcelona. And they've been making this wine down there for, like I said, 600-700 years, in the same way. And so it is a sweet wine. It is heavy on the alcohol, and in that region, they make it from a couple different grapes. So they make it from Muscat, and they also make it from Grenache. And you know how in France, like they label grapes by where they're made? So within the Languedoc and within Roussillon, there's a couple different AOCs for this sweet wine. And there's a very famous one that a lot of people know called Banyuls. There's another one that a lot of people know called Maury. And Rivesaltes is sort of the general region near there. And this particular version is actually made with Grenache. But it's not made with Grenache, a red Grenache. Actually, there's, a lot of people don't know this, there's Grenache Noir, which is red. There's Grenache Blanc, which is white. And there's Grenache Gris, which is sort of kind of in the middle, the gray, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris. So this is actually a blend of the Blanc and the Gris. But you can see it doesn't look like a white wine, right?
No.
It looks very, very dark. And so the production process for Rivesaltes is interesting. It's a very oxidative process. We're going to put alcohol into it to increase the alcohol content, kill the yeast, and then we're going to oxidize it over a period of time. And oftentimes they actually make Rivesaltes in glass jars, like glass aging vessels, to let the sun and the heat and everything just go into it and oxidize the heck out of it. So you'd expect it to have kind of a port feel, a Madeira feel, a sherry feel, and it does, but it's a little bit lighter, in my opinion, and part of that is the process, and part of that is also the grapes. Now that whole region, like I said, sits just right above Barcelona, and it's the winemaking philosophy there is much more Spanish than French. And actually, one of the main proprietors of a famous Rivesaltes producer, Domaine Singla, once said, "We're not French, we're Catalan." And that sort of Spanish influence can be seen in the wine, which is why it's more similar to like a sherry than it is to like a Burgundy. Mm-hmm. So that's Rivesaltes. Now let's talk a little bit about this wine, because this particular wine is extremely interesting, the story behind it. First thing is from 1945, so it's old. It's got a lot of years on it. And 1945, you guys remember what was going on in France in 1945?
There's a bit of a war going on, wasn't it?
There's a bit of war ending, right? And so they actually call this the victory vintage. And for a couple of reasons. One, because 1945 in France ended up being an awesome year for wine. Like the harvest was fantastic. And that wine, still like Burgundies from 1945 are considered to be, just phenomenal. And it was the end of the war. So they call it the victory vintage. And this particular wine was kind of forgotten about. And so what happened is a few years ago, one of the Rivesaltes importers to the US was out at Domaine Singla picking up some wine and sort of sorting out what he was going to buy. And he saw some old barrels in the back of the storeroom, and he said, "Hey, what are those?" And they said, "Huh, I don't know. Let's take a look." And so they opened them, and said, "No, we're not quite sure what this is." So they called the French wine authorities in to help them figure out what it was, and they found out that they actually had a barrel of 1945 Rivesaltes and also a barrel of 1949 Rivesaltes.
Wow.
And so they said, "Let's bottle it and sell it. It's delicious." Now, one of the things that happens when you expose wine to oxygen, a little bit evaporates, right? And we call that the angel's share. The angels, they come down, they help themselves to just a little bit every year. So this wine had been sitting in this barrel for 70 years. 2/3 of the barrel was gone. They only had 1/3 left because the rest, the angels had gotten to the rest and just the angels tore through it. So they bought obviously very limited production, and that's why it's a smaller bottle too. Obviously, they want to make sure that enough people get a chance to try this. This is one of those things that you sort of hear about these stories, and we were lucky enough to get a hold of some of this wine and have the opportunity to drink it. So let's do it. It's a Rivesaltes 1945 Domaine Singla. And we'll see what we think.
So it was bottled in.
Oh, like the last 5
couple
years.
of years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2009.
So it was sitting in a barrel the whole time.
It's just sitting in a barrel, and like a big Foudre barrel that had a lot of air and a lot of space in it, and it sort of cooked down over 70 years, and so it's very concentrated, and which is why, by the way, you see this is a white wine, but it's pretty frickin' dark.
That's delicious.
Right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's incredible.
I just get all kinds of concentration and complexity. I get walnuts and apricots and figs and sweetness and caramel. I mean, this is a complex wine.
And somehow not overpowering at the end.
No,
The finish is like
it's just
an
beautiful.
angel dancing on your tongue. Like, whee! Oh.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not. I certainly couldn't hold myself up as like the Rivesaltes guy, right? Who's had all this Rivesaltes I know. So
I think you can now, actually. But too many people have had it.
Yeah, well, my point is, like, I don't know how much of this is the characteristic of the aging process versus, I've had a couple of Vin du Naturels from France, but this is certainly a whole different realm, and it's
Oh my gosh.
lovely.
It's incredible.
It's exquisite.
Yeah, this is the kind of wine when you drink it, like I will remember this.
Yeah. I don't want it to end. It's spectacular. How much would a bottle of this normally be? So $99 a glass. I mean, are you looking at $400, $500? Can you?
Yeah, I think this bottle of wine is available for probably anywhere in the $175 to $200 kind of retail range if you can find it. You can probably get online and track it down. And well worth it. I mean, how often are you going to drink
70
it?
years?
Yeah, it's exquisite. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I've never had anything quite like
It's
this.
like a privilege when you're drinking it, right? I mean, you think about the history of it and how it got to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this didn't come from Kendall Jackson, like up the
Right,
street.
so
This is
World
like-
War II was ending
Yeah,
in France, and some
it's-
guy made this and then forgot about it. And then somehow we got a little bottle of it over here in Southern Cali.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So here's a question. What would you eat, or what would you pair with this? Food-wise?
So Calmerna figs with some form of a cheese,
Oh,
and maybe a little bit of like a little bit of cream on the side of that. So I'm thinking like a cheese and fig, right? Like that would be nice with the texture of the seeds and the fig, and yeah.
Would it be some brie shoved inside a
Some
date?
brie inside a date would be nice. You could even get away with a bacon, like some sort of a heavy, like a
Bacon
salt
wrapped date?
wrapped with a sugar. Would be really awesome,
Oh.
like the sweet and the salty, savory and sweet. That'd
Yeah.
be delicious. I can think of a number of things. Pancakes, fried chicken,
Yeah.
chicken and waffles, like anything with maple syrup and fried food would be delicious, like just whatever,
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
it's like a tawny port, but better somehow.
Yeah.
Like there's a different sweetness to it. I'm
The
not
weight
sure.
of it is different, right? The difference between a port and this is like the weight it's much lighter.
Yeah, and that's typical of the Vin du Naturals. Sort of the French ports. They are a little lighter in style and flavor and fruit, and it is kind of like that. Spain or Portugal meets France, and you think about like Provence, right? So Provence is sort of right there, and it's known for a lot of brilliant foods coming out of Provence, right? Provincial cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got its own fucking name, right?
Well, cheers to the Catalonians. I mean, right?
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very well done.
Yeah. Anyways,
Absolutely incredible.
so that is Reef Salt, my friends.
Well, thank you.
Cheers.
It's
Thank you.
delicious.
This was
As
wonderful.
always,
Thank you,
we're
Reef
going
Salt.
out with 30 seconds of craziness. Tonight's craziness, Angst Breaker. And then the song is done. Enjoy.